Welcome to Money Talks. My name is Mike Campbell. Got all sorts of things planned for you today. Last week we talked a lot of real estate with Ozzie Jurek. My goodness, the government is working hard to make it unattractive for people to invest in real estate, and we need the supply. I'll do more of that, as I say, with Ozzie. I've got Michael Levy coming up. I've got Victor Adair. Obviously, we got a great Goofy Award for you, so you got to stay tuned for all of that. Plus, Benj Galander is going to be with me. He's the contrarian. And I'll tell you, I love his work. He sits and says, what's popular but shouldn't be, and what's not popular and you can make a lot of money from. Benj is going to be with me. But first, I'm going to talk about two issues to start the show, but I should give you a little warning that this isn't going to go down well with some people. I've just had it, though, with the political gaslighting. I just find it so disrespectful. I mean, why not just tell the truth? Tell the public the truth. Tell them what you're proposing, the pros and the cons. And especially stop with that holier than thou attitude that says people who disagree are the offsprings of Satan. No, I know I'm just wishful thinking at that point. But as for the gaslighting, you know what? I'm a father of three, and now with three grandchildren. And I find the talk of fairness for every generation just too much to take. When we're talking about the younger generation, come on, it's total BS. As award-winning economist, the great Thomas Sowell famously said, for short-term political gain, in order to make certain constituencies happy, in order to give people what they want with no sacrifice, we're willing to throw future generations under the bus. Maybe make that the financial bus, especially when it comes to passing on record debts, along with a currency, though, that continually buys less over time. Now, yeah, we're talking about free dental care, free child care, $10 a day child care, free pharmacare. And they may be good ideas. I don't know. We'll have to see how they're executed. But the finance minister and the prime minister never mention that it's all paid for with borrowed money that the younger generation's on the hook for. But that's just the beginning of the short end of the stick for young people. I mean, come on, young people, most of them are never going to be able to get into the housing market as a direct result, though, of government policy related to immigration and temporary visas. The prime minister himself admits it's been out of control, but he fails to mention that he's actually been in charge during it. Then add on the myriad of government levies, fees, and taxes from all three levels of government that make about, on average, a 25 to 35% of the cost of a new home. And then there's zoning restrictions and permit delays that limit supply and add to the cost for new home buyers. And when they can't afford to buy, well, then they get to pay the highest rents in history, thanks to the combination of all of those factors. And all of them done without a housing plan. I mean, fairness for every generation. Well, how about healthcare? Young people will pay more but get less, especially as the baby boom population ages. Young people's taxes will go toward paying for their care, but they're not going to get the same level of care when they're older. Right now, young families experience the longest wait times in history for a variety of medical issues. There are among 6.5 million Canadians who don't have a family doctor. Well, that wasn't the case when I had a young family, and probably you too if you had one. And finally, to my second point, this is a major financial issue that we do talk about, but I get the impression it's not fully appreciated. But our money has never bought less. Thanks in large part to ever increasing prices that are produced by government spending and borrowing playing a major role, which over time, though, has constantly diminished the purchasing power of the currency. As University of Calgary economist Trevor Tombe calculates, our dollars buy about 7% less food. This is after adjusting if you had wage increases, but 7% less food over the last 4 years. Buys 12% less gasoline. And if you bought a mortgage or you have a mortgage, about 20% less house because costs have risen faster than our average wages. I mean, you're only shielded from those if you're lucky enough to own assets that rise faster than the price of inflation. I mean, things like housing and share prices. And the government even wants a bigger share of that now. That's why the government tax attack on assets with the new capital gains tax, and now there's even talks of taxing our primary residence, but without taking into account the impact of inflation in calculating the game, it's just so insidious. And I'll give you a quick example, a few numbers coming at you. If you bought an asset in 1990 for $400,000, sold it today for $825,000, you have no gain, not in terms of what you could buy with the money, because right now, because of inflation, it costs $825,000 today to buy what 400,000 bought in goods and services in 1990. In other words, you've gained nothing, but the government still wants to tax this non-existent gain because they don't adjust for inflation. And they call that fair? And by the way, the government acknowledges all of this stuff because they index tax brackets to inflation. They know they have to, or they're not worth as much, but they don't do it for everything. I'll give you one quick example. The basic exemption to the Canada Pension Plan. You don't start calculating how much you got to contribute till after $3,500, but they've kept that since 1996. Well, it isn't worth the same to you now. That's worth about $2,000 today, which means more of our earnings are subject to CPP mandatory contributions. My point is that for most of us, the erosion of the purchasing power of our money, the impact of increased taxation, coupled with the impact of, in this case lately, the increased population on housing, are our biggest financial challenges. And you know what? It's getting worse. Hey, just a minute. I want to remind you to sign up for 5 Minutes with Mike. By the way, you can get that by going to mikesmoneytalks.ca, mikesmoneytalks.ca. Plus, of course, you join us on Twitter with Money Talks tweets and on Facebook, Michael Campbell's Money Talks. So there's much more coming for you. So stay with us.